So I used to live in a big house, 6 bedrooms, for bath, basement, etc., by myself. I was there as a hiring perk, and to look after the place for my boss, who lived out of state but owned the home. One of those win-win situations. The first couple of months were fine, but when winter came, I started hearing things coming from the second floor. I lived pretty much exclusively on the first floor. It started with little bumps and bangs coming from above where I had my computer set up, and progressed to distinct footsteps coming and going across the second floor. I had been up to the second floor to check up on it from time to time, and I knew that there were unfinished areas up there. One place always stuck out, an unfinished room that was a sort of walk-in closet for one of the upstairs bedrooms. It was attached to the garage attic, complete unlit. It was open when I went up to investigate the noises. I shut the door and locked it. 2 nights later, more noises. Footsteps, leading from unfinished room to the bathroom, then nothing. The worst part, the door. The door that led to the unfinished room would not stay closed or locked. I tried everything. Eventually, I pushed the bed up against the door to keep it from opening. That seemed to work. A few months went by without the door coming open, but I would find it unlocked all the time. As time passed, I would hear noises all over the house, mostly footsteps, but the occasional thump with no explanation. I cannot explain how horrifying it is to hear little taps up and down the hall, from the other side of a bathroom door during your morning shower. I eventually moved out, but another employee moved in to take my place. His stay there only lasted about a month. The story he told me is that he was shaving one morning before work, Andy. He heard ASLAM like someone dropped a heavy stack of books right outside his bedroom door. Then heavy footsteps like someone running down the hall. He won't stay there anymore, and no one in the company will live in the house.
So 2 weeks before we moved, my dad and I toured our house, and I noticed this guy was painting the water heater, which I thought was weird of hey. But I was like 10, so whatever. Anyway, we moved in on a Wednesday, and my parents let me stay home from school until the following Monday, and preoccupied me with coloring books and a new dollhouse. In my brand new crayons pack, there literally wasn't a blue crayon like it was a 64 pack, but there were only 63 crayons in it. One day I went downstairs into the basement, and my blue crayon was next to the hot water heater, and scribbled on there it said, "Hi Fit Nurse 6, Kevin." I was so confused. I started school and my new classmates were like, "OMG, do you live in Kevin's house? Your house is gonna be haunted." It turned out that Kevin was a little 8-year-old boy that lived in our house prior to us, and he got hit by a car in the front yard. He would write notes if you left out a pen and paper, open and close doors, adjust the thermostat, the kind where you had to turn a knob, and always turn on Christmas music when it was that time of year. We had a swing set in the backyard, and even on the hottest, calmest days of summer, only the left swing would be moving back and forth. We had this dumb cat that I would lock in my bedroom at night, and every morning my parents would open the door and let him out, then close it back. One night I woke up and the cat was meowing at the door, and it woke me up. But the door opened and the cat hissed and ran out really fast. I asked my mom the next morning why they didn't close my door, and they said they didn't open it. The last story is when I was very upset and nearly suicidal one year during Christmas break. The police just randomly showed up at my house. The policeman said he was patrolling our neighborhood and felt like something was wrong at our house. I'm absolutely certain Kevin had something to do with it.
When I was younger, I used to take naps upstairs, but by the time I was 8 years old, I absolutely refused to go upstairs. The upstairs had 2 large closets, attics. They ran from one side of the upstairs all the way to the other side, on both sides. It was essentially a crawl space that was maybe 30 feet long. It started one day when a friend and I went crawling from one side to the other with flashlights like kids normally do. Then I saw a girl sitting there in the corner acting like she wanted to play with us. I know a lot of people say when they see a ghost, they aren't scared, just interested. Nope, I was beyond terrified. This girl looked normal, had blonde hair, a nice dress, and seemed friendly. I stayed silent, kept crawling behind my friend, and got out of the closet. Told him what I saw in there. He said he didn't see it, but felt like he didn't want to go back in. Then my parents would occasionally send me upstairs to get something, and when I would get up there, I would see the doors swing open, as if they were trying to get me to come inside. I would lose toys and wouldn't be able to find them anywhere. Suddenly, my parents would be fishing out Christmas presents out of the attic, and we would find some of my toys in there. I remember being 8 years old. My parents are asleep still in the morning, and I leashed up my dog to go take on the monster in the attic. My dog, usually up for anything, refused to go off the top step into the attic. My parents never believed me with all the weird things that happened in that house. I would get blamed for things that happened all over the house, leaving lights on, toys all over, things I knew I didn't do. Well, anyway, we move out of there when I am 10. Not a week passes before the new owners call us up and ask if the house is haunted. Their daughter sleeps upstairs. She says that she has been playing with a blonde-haired girl at night. My parents laughed at how crazy these new homeowners must be. To make an already long story short, the girls started appearing in other parts of the house. For them, they kept in contact with us. They would look over while watching TV and see the girl sitting on their daughter's lap, etc. They looked up on the computer the past owners of the house, found an old dressmaker that lived there, and yep, a picture of the little girl wearing one of the lady's dresses. The family that moved in there were absolutely torn apart by the events.
My grandparents have a helpful ghost too. Their house was built in the 1860s, and they've lived in it since the late 1960s. Over the years, various family members have heard the vacuum cleaner turn on its own, and clothes and towels that were dropped on the floor before bed have been folded and placed at the foot of the bed by morning. In an intense burst of procrastination one day, I looked up every mention of their address in their town's online newspaper archives and found out that the family that built the house had a daughter who grew up there, never married, and took care of her widowed father until she later died of old age. So I figure the helpful ghost is just the daughter continuing to take care of people like she did for her entire life.
I lived in one when I was a teen, along with my parents. Several instances come to mind. We were remodeling an old farmhouse and had been there a couple of months before witnessing anything. One day I was underneath my truck, which was supported by only a jack. Stupid, I know. I was in the middle of working on it, with no good reason to get out at that moment. Suddenly, the overwhelming urge to get out from underneath overwhelmed me. No sooner than I got out, the truck fell to the ground. The jack had slipped. Freaked Dad out, he thought I was under it. When Mom got home, we mentioned it, and she started crying, sobbing pretty hard. It turns out the previous owner died in the driveway, under a vehicle. In that spot, I would often see moving shadows, and strangely hear music from the upstairs area. The windows of the old house were cocked shut, and blackbirds would often get caught between the panes. We ended up replacing all the windows, but we had to break 3 inside panes to get them out. One of the more disturbing things happened when my mother was cooking breakfast. She turned away to get something out of the cabinet, and when she turned back around, all the forks set out were bent straight up.
So this is currently happening in the house I'm living in NJ. A week or so ago at 3 a.m., I was just getting up to turn the heating off and potter around after falling asleep on the sofa. I was yawning and rubbing my eyes a lot, and was just about to get up to go to bed, when I realized this noise getting louder and louder, like you don't realize it's happening until it's super loud. I suddenly realize and turn my head around to see the kettle boiling by itself. You have to push a button down and it glows blue, which was highlighting the shadow of the button that had definitely been pressed. I freak out thinking I've lost time, and it was me, but I've forgotten soil rationalize, and before I can stop myself, the words, "But I don't want tea or coffee," come out of my mouth, and at which point the kettle clicks off. Like I literally heard the switch. It wasn't at the end of the boil either. I'm English and so used to 220-watt outlets which do everything twice as fast. So I know it was in the middle of the boil. Also, as soon as I said that, I felt guilty, like I shouldn't have been scared. Like it was a friendly offer. 2 days later, I was with a friend at the dining room table, both of us at least 5 foot and round the corner from the kettle. Nobody else in the house when it starts boiling again. My friend rushes over and points out the button has been pushed. So much relief came over me that I wasn't insane, and I explained to my friend that this happened to me at night. A few nights ago I was lying in bed and could hear a conversation. At 4 a.m, no one around. Neighbors are 20 feet away either side. Then the kettle starts boiling. I'm pissed, so I literally say out loud, "Please stop boiling the kettle, we have people asleep upstairs." And it clicked off again. This could just be a faulty kettle and coincidence. I don't believe in ghosts whatsoever, and have never seen or felt anything before. It's just freaky, but it's not scary. Only my first instinct. I feel as though someone is trying to take care of me. Like when you were sick off school and lying in bed and your mum or dad would take care of you and bring you soup and stuff. Very, very strange.